Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, speakers, partners, students and participants from all the corners of the world. Good morning and welcome to University Mohammed VI Polytechnic. My name is Amina Al-Hababi, Head of Corporate Communication at UM6P, and I will be pleased to be your Master of Ceremony this morning. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you today here in Ben Gurion for the first edition of the International Campus of Excellence Africa, under the theme Shaping the Future, Transitional Thinking in a World of Uncertainty. We are honored to be surrounded for 2 days by a global circle of visionaries who will take us to engaging and inspiring discussion about the thematic. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I am pleased to welcome on stage the co-directors of the organizing committee of this event, determined to make this event happen and that we can call the three partners in crime. I am calling on stage Mr. Khalid Baddou, Chief of Staff and Director of Institutional Affairs of UM6P. Mr. Mustafa Ashouban, Senior Advisor to the President of Florida Polytechnic University. And last but not least, Professor Raphael Yuji, Scientific Director of the Institute for Advanced Studies at UM6P.
Professors are usually on time. Excellencies, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great honor that we gather here today. And I'm talking with a lot of emotions because it's been a full year of work that a dedicated team have given of energy and trust to together to the different components of this organizing committee to make this event happen. So we are gathered here at UM6P. It's an opportunity for our university not only to have access to luminaries and to visionaries here in Ben Gurion, but it's mainly an opportunity for you to be an inspiration to our students, to our graduates, to our researchers, because they are looking into role models for them, for their future, and to see that having Nobel Prizes here at UM6P, it's just the beginning to have a Nobel Prize coming out of UM6P in the future. So this is our wish, and this is what we are aspiring to have coming out of this university of Morocco, from Morocco and from Africa. This organizing team, let's say, was really working very hard in this past period to make sure that this journey be very constructive and very forward-looking mainly. We don't want it to be just an event or a gathering. We want it to be something that will be impactful for the future, something that will build, that we can build on to enlighten our students and to make sure that you will come today, but you will also come in future occasions. So we would like this event to be as frequent as possible and to have this opportunity to gather you here in Ben Gurion or maybe later in our Rabat campus to inspire us and to inspire our students. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for taking the time to meet and to connect and to network with our students, and we are really happy to build future collaborations with you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, my friends, today we are here in the Kingdom of Morocco, on the continent of Africa. As you know, Morocco is a melting pot for a lot of cultures, civilization, is a deep civilization actually, and you took the chance to come from all over the world, 5 continents, to celebrate with us the Moroccan, or as Mr. Andrea Zola, His Excellency said yesterday, the Moroccanity. It's a flavor that belongs to all of us actually here. As you know, we are thinking about shaping the future, transitional thinking in a world of uncertainty, The world is full of a lot of complexities. Nothing is certain, but there is one common denominator for all of us in this room, is the ability to serve our communities, to serve our countries, to serve our nation. I had the privilege to be born in this country that I call my dearest kingdom of Morocco, and also I had the privilege to belong to a country that built my skills, United States of America. And here, my friends, sometimes your life is not easy, it's complicated. But as the previous King Hassan II said, may his soul rest in peace, the battles of life are not won by the strongest or the fastest, but they are won by those who never give up. And today, we're committed to not give up on humanity, to not give up on peace, on coexistence, and also to have the roadmap for a shared prosperity for all of us. I'm very delighted to have my friends from all over the world, head of states, Nobel laureates, eminent scholars, distinguished students. We have the ability to build something unique, a nation, a civilization, and also to serve those nations and civilizations with pride. I will not take longer, but I would love to thank all of you for being here today, and also for being ambassadors for your cultures, your countries. And please, when you go back home, to your home countries, take some of this Moroccanity and share it with your friends, as we are taking some of part of your nations to celebrate it here in Morocco. We are celebrating all of us here. God bless you and bless this meeting, and thank you so much, and thank you for everybody.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, really. What you have accomplished here is really great. I would like to have a few words about this, just beside UMCSP, Institute for Advanced Studies. I must say that 1 year and a half ago, I would not have even thought possible for an Institute for Advanced Studies to be actually built here, because it's something quite complicated, quite complex to do. It was a real challenge, and I thought it wasn't possible, to say the truth, to be really truthful. But after 1 year, what we have accomplished now, I mean, is so great. And I know now it's possible. I know we are on the way. I know it can become the first Institute for Advanced Studies in the Arabic world. Why? Because I discovered here such a dynamic, such an energy that in UMCSP, in Morocco, in Bulgaria, thanks to the management. Usually you say, is it top-down management or, bottom-up? But what is extraordinary here is like it is both. It's top-down and bottom-up in the same time. I must say also that it was also thanks to the team we step-by-step built with this Institute for Advanced Studies. I'm thinking in particular about Nawal Shaibi, the executive director, and of Saad Tazi, the coordinator of the steering committee, and also the team is growing now with Jabran and Fadem Zara, exactly. Sorry about that. So, just to talk a little bit about what is an IIS, because why is it so hard to build? Because to build an IIS, you need to be humble, but not modest, because it's a real ambition. What I mean by humble and not modest, I mean that you can be humble and at the same time wanting to build something that is greater than yourself. So it's not egotistic at all. It's not being pretentious. It's really to build something greater, but for the greater good, actually. And it's what is an IIS about. Now, what is it exactly? It is a place where you are supposed to have groundbreaking research, cutting-edge research, to use different expressions. How do you accomplish that? That's something interesting. You accomplish that by creating an atmosphere where researchers will be free from administrative involvement for everything except their research. It's like, we will say, like in a monastic environment. And it's not randomly that many researchers were accomplished before the 18th century by actually people that were monastics, like Copernicus, for instance. So it's the idea to rebuild that. And the first institution to have had this idea, as many of you know, it's actually Princeton, where there was the first Institute for Advanced Studies that became famous because Albert Einstein. But step by step, it was more and more subtle. And they created something, some kind of a structure where people are living in an atmosphere where they meet with each other, not only hard scientists, as we say, but also people that work on humanities, and also artists. And step by step, there was this rule in the Institute for Advanced Studies of the 3/3 that has to meet in a specific place, and that gives wonderful outcomes. So we try to accomplish that here. And there is some kind of a label on a global scale that we call the UBS, after Princeton University, that is University-Based Institute for Advanced Studies. It's kind of a very select club. There are only 47 all over the world. We had to choose a theme for the Institute of Advanced Studies, because one of the other criteria is interdisciplinarity. But because it's a new university, a great university, but a new university, we had to try to find a theme that justifies that it is here and that it is not elsewhere, and it is now and not in the future or in the past, but now and here. So it's when we decided for this, we decided ourselves for this theme that is transition, like transitional thinking. Why? First of all, because Morocco is a country in transition in a very positive way. A country in transition also in its space, because it's a bridge between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. So between America and between Europe, and also it's in Africa. So it's just in the middle. It's a bridge with different paths, with multiple paths. So already it is transition on that aspect. But it's also a society that is on a social, cultural transition and on a scientific transition. And also on the climate transition like everybody else, with different problems like water and all that. So what is now transition? Transition is not evolution, and it's not rupture. Sometimes people misunderstand what it is. It is neither nor that, but it is both. Transition is when something has some kind of an equilibrium, some kind of a balance, and at one moment, step by step, it evolves a little bit, and at one moment, it can't maintain this balance, and it transforms in something else. We know now that everywhere in science, it's a question of transition. It's always a question of transition. Now, what it is exactly, it is at one moment, things are changing because it reached a certain level of complexity. It's a real mystery. I think it's the main enigma in science, in all disciplines today. We could put it in a very short way. It's how a quantity transcend, like transition, transcend itself into a quality. Examples, for the good or the bad. Examples, quantum physics, how waves become particles. Actually, we talk about emergence, we talk about many things, words, but we don't know why, actually. Or why the complexity of the brain and the number of neurons at one moment, quantity, becomes what we call mind. What's actually happening? Or why, when we talk about climate change, something is happening, evolving, and at one moment it might shift. We don't know why either. And this time it's for the worse, apparently. So that's the greatest scientific enigma of our time. Even in mathematics, I'm saying Gregory Chaitin, one of our residents, great mathematician. Because when Cantor talks about transfinite number, again, even in mathematics, something is happening. When it is a finite number, when is the moment where something emerges? In mathematics, we'll say with different properties that we don't understand completely yet, even in an abstract way. So there is also what we could call emergence in mathematics with transfinite numbers. So what is actually happening? That's the greatest mystery, the greatest enigma of our time everywhere now in science. So I think we have accomplished a lot in the Institute for Advanced Studies in 1 year towards our goal. We have residents. We have a research village, not completely, but on its way, almost. We have the first outcomes. We have the first deliverable already today. So I can say that we're really on track. And I can also say, oh, we have something else. We have, thanks to you, to all of you, thanks to Mustafa, thanks to the management of the UMCSP, and thanks to all of you, we have our first big event. So now we have everything. We just need to work. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, dear colleagues and partners, for these opening remarks, remembering us the reason of why we are gathering today. And talking about shaping the future and creating the shift, let me take you to the inaugural session of the International Campus of Excellence Africa, tackling the thematic of the paradigm shifting as a power base of a new reality. It is my honor to introduce the keynote speakers. The visionary of UM6P, leading the boat since 2017 in a continuous quest of excellence and supporting key initiatives like this one that can move from a crazy dream to a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Hisham El-Habti, President of University Mohammed VI Polytechnic. Shaping the future cannot happen without the education actors being involved. I am pleased to welcome the second key speaker, representing Mr. Abdelatif Mirawi, the Minister of Higher Education, Scientific Research and Innovation, who could not join us today, unfortunately, and who is represented by Mr. Mohammed Al-Khalfawi, General Secretary of the Ministry. From Morocco to Spain, the third speaker joined the triple condition of a scientist, financial, and academic expert. I am pleased to welcome on stage Prof. Aldo Olcese Santonja, Vice President of the Royal European Academy of Doctors in Spain. And since we continue traveling around the world, I am pleased to welcome the Counselor for Public Affairs of United States Mission in Morocco, who is contributing to telling the story of the American diplomacy, Mr. Nick Barnett. And last but not least, and to award the work done in the service of the European unification, we are pleased to be joined by the chairman of the Charlemagne Prize Foundation, an institution gathering political, economic, and cultural figures. Please join me in welcoming Prof. Thomas Préfi. This high-level panel will be moderated by Prof. Michel Hawes, President of Fulbright Commission, Canada since September 2001, and before all, a professor of political science and tireless advocate of international education. Prof. Hawes, the command is yours.
Well, good morning, everybody. What a fantastic day. What an opportunity to discuss the future, to deal with uncertainty, to ask difficult questions, and have an important dialogue. This actually is my second visit to the university, and I am absolutely thrilled to be back. And the energy here, the feeling is so strong and so positive. I just can't congratulate you enough, sir. My job is an easy one today. I have 5 absolutely extraordinary individuals here who are going to speak to you about their vision for reshaping the future, about shifting paradigms, about changing realities, about new world orders, about things that we all think about and worry about and dream about every single day. The idea is that each of our speakers will have about 10 minutes, and then maybe I'll have a few questions for them. So let me begin with the university president. Your communications director has already done a spectacular job of making sure everyone knows who everyone is. So I will not use their time, but sir, let me begin with you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
As you have just said, what a day. So thank you. Thank you for the energy. You brought more energy here. So I do agree with you. There is something here in the air. And this is why I'm considering myself as really blessed by being as president of UM6P, because every day it's nurturing. And just before my official introduction, I'm inviting you all to connect with Raphael. You saw the energy he brought this morning, and just connect with him for one main reason, to share with you his story with UM6P. The first day ever when he heard about UM6P, I think 18 months ago. And yeah, and now he's the scientific director of the Institute for Advanced Studies. And this is all about UM6P. Crazy ideas, but we are here to deliver these crazy ideas because we believe in the in the energy of the Moroccan youth, of the African youth. We are here just to create the atmosphere, as he has just said. And yeah, so just before, during the lunch or after that, just connect with him, and he will really share with you a great story. So, Your Excellency, Mr. Secretary General, honorable members of the Nobel community, dear professors and students, ladies and gentlemen. So, as we gather today at University Mohammed VI Polytechnic, in the vibrant heart of Morocco, we stand at the dawn of a new era. It was said, we gather under the aegis of the first International Campus of Excellence Africa to explore a theme that resonates deeply within our collective aspirations: shaping the future, thinking transition in a world of uncertainty. In a world on the brink of a momentous turn, our gathering here is not only timely, it's imperative. The convergence of technology, science, and innovation has propelled humanity into an era, and it was said by Raphael, we don't know what's happening. Unfortunately, it could be for the worst, but we're here to be optimistic. Yet, this era is not without staggering challenges, as it has been mentioned. As we navigate through the complexities and the word was used on the 21st century, we are forced to rethink our strategies, redirect our ambitions, and reimagine our future. At the heart of this transformative journey lies the unrivaled power of science and innovation, a beacon that guides us through the uncharted territories of global transitions. Science, in its pure form, is a quest for truth, a never-ending quest that propels humanity forward, breaking barriers and transcending boundaries. Innovation, as an inseparable ally, is the engine that turns the wheels of change, transforming the fruits of scientific endeavor into concrete solutions that uplift societies and enrich lives. Together, science and innovation form the cornerstone of our progress. They are the catalysts of development, the architects of a sustainable future, and the guardians of our shared human values. As we embark on this journey, we need to take a holistic approach where science and innovation are not just tools for economic growth, but instruments of social good and stewards of our planet. We are at a crossroads where our decisions, policies, and actions will determine the course of our collective future. It's a future that demands a new paradigm of thinking, one that fosters cooperation, advocates sustainability, and positions humanities at the forefront. UM6P, we're here in Ben Gurion, in our campus in Ben Gurion, with a heritage of excellence and commitment to innovation, serves a light ship and a center of intellectual prowess. It's a place where minds meet, ideas blossom, and solutions are born. Here at UM6P, we not only train the next generation of leaders, we empower them to become pioneers of change, architects of peace, and champions of progress. In this esteemed gathering, we unite two generations of luminaries, Nobel laureates, former heads of state, seasoned diplomats, eminent academics from one side, and exceptional young leaders on the other side to engage in a heartfelt dialogue, share perspectives, and forge partnerships. Together, we'll explore the possibilities of our universe, tackle the challenges of cybersecurity, address climate change, and redefine the role of universities in shaping economies and societies. As we unveil the first edition of the International Campus of Excellence Africa, let us commit ourselves to harnessing the power of science and innovation to the service of humanity. Let us commit ourselves to a future where knowledge is shared, wisdom celebrated, and innovation directed towards the common good of all. Thank you all for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for enlightening us with your ideas and reflection. Thank you so much.
Excellent comments, and thank you for beginning the day on such a positive note. Very important. So, our next speaker is the Minister of Education, Higher Education, Innovation, Science, here in Morocco, a leader in this field, an architect of the new Moroccan education policy, and a person who we deeply hope will grow more, build more, and take us into the future. Sir.
Thank you. Bonjour. Je vais vous changer un peu, je vais intervenir en français. Monsieur le conseiller de Sa Majesté, Monsieur le président de l'Université Mohamed VI Polytechnique, Monsieur le président directeur général d'INUI, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers collègues enseignants, chers étudiants, honorable assistance. Tout d'abord, je vous présente les excuses de Monsieur le ministre de l'Enseignement supérieur, de la Recherche scientifique et de l'Innovation, le professeur Abdelatif Miraoui, qui n'a pas pu prendre part à cette importante rencontre pour des raisons indépendantes de sa volonté. Mesdames et Messieurs, il m'est particulièrement agréable de m'associer à vous aujourd'hui à l'occasion de ce rendez-vous scientifique international important auquel prennent part des experts et des chercheurs de haut niveau, dont d'éminents lauréats des prix Nobel. Je tiens à féliciter les organisateurs pour le choix de la thématique de cette grande manifestation scientifique se situant au cœur des préoccupations des décideurs, des penseurs et des scientifiques. En effet, cette thématique interpelle notre capacité à réajuster en permanence nos modes de pensée pour pouvoir appréhender la complexité des problématiques auxquelles le monde se trouve confronté et nous pousse tous à prospecter des pistes de solutions à même de relever notre potentiel de résilience face à un monde complexe, volatile et incertain. Je souhaiterais structurer mon intervention autour de 3 axes interdépendants. Le premier axe porte sur la mise en relief des grands enjeux planétaires qui sont en train de façonner l'avenir de l'humanité. Le deuxième axe aborde l'impératif d'opérer des changements de paradigme pour renforcer notre capacité de résilience et d'anticipation face à ces enjeux cruciaux. Le troisième axe, quant à lui, traite du rôle central du capital humain en tant que puissant levier pour réussir les multiples mutations que nous traversons aujourd'hui. Je terminerai par dresser un aperçu global sur la dynamique à l'œuvre dans l'écosystème de l'enseignement supérieur, recherche scientifique et innovation marocain comme axe fondamental de nouveaux choix transformateurs portés par le nouveau modèle de développement. Mesdames et Messieurs, le premier axe a trait à un contexte planétaire devenu complexe et incertain en raison d'une succession de crises structurelles et à fréquence élevée. En effet, le monde de nos jours connaît un enchevêtrement de crises aux soubassements multiples et interreliées quant aux incidences qu'ils génèrent. Ces crises constituent des accélérateurs de l'histoire, compte tenu des inflexions majeures qu'ils suscitent en termes d'accentuation de progrès technologiques ou encore en termes de redéfinition de paradigmes sur le plan économique et social. 3 grandes catégories de crises permettent de mettre en relief cette nouvelle donne mondiale. D'abord, les crises économiques et financières entraînant de fortes destructions de richesses, comme c'est le cas lors de la crise internationale de 2008-2009, dont le coût direct et indirect a été estimé à plusieurs milliards de dollars en septembre 2010, selon le Fonds monétaire international. Il y a aussi les crises environnementales et écologiques. Comme vous le savez, depuis juillet 2021, l'humanité aurait consommé toutes les ressources que la Terre pourrait régénérer en une année. Pour satisfaire les besoins de la population mondiale, il nous faudrait plus d'une planète et demie, et exactement 1,7 selon la FAO. Les impacts du changement climatique occasionneraient une ponction sur le PIB mondial, estimé entre 0,7 et 2,5% à l'horizon 2050 selon l'OCDE. Et enfin, les crises sanitaires sous forme de propagation accélérée des pandémies, dont la plus récente est celle de la Covid-19, avec des incidences qui transcendent les frontières, mettant en péril aussi bien les vies humaines, 15 millions de personnes dans le monde en 2020 et 2021 selon l'OMS, que l'activité économique mondiale, 255 millions d'emplois perdus en 2020 selon l'OIT. Mesdames et Messieurs, dans le deuxième axe de mon intervention, j'essaierai d'abord Par leur coût économique, social et environnemental élevé, les changements induits par ces crises, notamment au niveau des paradigmes et de la réévaluation des approches et des méthodes qui s'y rapportent. Ainsi, parmi ces changements fondamentaux, il y a lieu de citer ce qui suit. L'adoption d'approches rénovées en matière de gestion des risques, impliquant la prévention, l'investissement dans la résilience des systèmes et l'anticipation des défis futurs, plutôt que la réaction à travers des mesures correctives. La durabilité et la responsabilité en mettant en exergue la nécessité de repenser nos modèles de développement en privilégiant des modes de production et de consommation sobres en carbone, s'appuyant davantage sur les énergies propres, tout en plaçant la responsabilité environnementale au cœur des choix économiques. Il y a aussi la solidarité internationale à travers des approches axées sur la collaboration entre les nations, privilégiant des solutions communes et concertées face aux défis mondiaux. Cela renvoie aussi à repenser la gouvernance mondiale à travers des institutions fortes et résilientes. Il ne faut pas oublier aussi que la technologie et la digitalisation, en mobilisant le potentiel des technologies numériques pour transformer les modèles économiques, éducatifs et sociaux, tout en veillant aux impératifs de l'éthique, de la transparence et de la confidentialité. La redéfinition des priorités en mettant l'accent sur les dépenses publiques en faveur des secteurs structurants tels que la santé, l'éducation, la recherche et l'innovation. Et enfin, l'innovation sociale en encourageant à grande échelle les initiatives du tiers secteur et en promouvant des politiques durables axées sur l'équité et l'inclusion. Tout ceci nous conduit au troisième axe, à savoir le rôle central du capital humain en tant que levier approprié pour réussir les multiples transitions que nous traversons aujourd'hui. Mesdames et messieurs, nul ne peut nier que le capital humain est l'épine dorsale de toute œuvre de développement. C'est la source intarissable de création des richesses et la clé de voûte de toute stratégie permettant aux nations d'élargir leurs perspectives d'avenir et de les sécuriser. Dans ce sillage, porté par le capital humain, le poids de l'économie immatérielle dans le PIB mondial ne cesse de se renforcer. 16 000 milliards de dollars en 2030, selon l'OCDE, soit 15% de la richesse mondiale. De ce fait, l'université, de par ses missions, est le lieu de prédilection de tout développement du capital humain et le socle fondateur pour la préparation des compétences de demain. Elle est le haut lieu de savoir pour appréhender les problématiques multidimensionnelles actuelles ou celles qui se profilent à l'horizon et y apporter des réponses adaptées. Elle est aussi la source d'acquisition de compétences permettant de forger des lauréats au profil résilients et entreprenants en mesure de faire face aux mutations accélérées du marché de l'emploi, et elle est également la croix de transmission des valeurs sociétales en faveur de l'ancrage de la culture, d'équité, d'égalité genre, de citoyenneté responsable et de consolidation du lieu social ainsi que de la paix. Aujourd'hui, et à l'ère du digital et de l'émergence de l'intelligence artificielle, le système d'enseignement doit avoir pour vocation principale de former nos jeunes à gagner en résilience pour être en phase avec les limitations technologiques actuelles et futures. Cela requiert d'opérer de nouveaux choix et d'adopter des approches innovantes, dont notamment développer la multidisciplinarité et l'ancrage en méthodes holistiques et systémiques, inculquer la pensée critique à nos jeunes, former dans le domaine de l'intelligence artificielle et les data science, renforcer les capacités de leadership et libérer le potentiel créatif entreprenant de nos jeunes. Mesdames et messieurs, de par son ouverture affirmée sur l'extérieur et la dynamique de modernisation compétitive et durable de son économie, le Maroc confère à la résilience de sa trajectoire de développement d'ensemble une place de choix dans ses priorités stratégiques. Comme vous le savez, notre pays s'est inscrit dans un élan réformateur volontariste et délibéré sur le leadership éclairé et visionnaire de Sa Majesté le roi Mohamed VI, que Dieu l'assiste, ayant permis au royaume de forger un positionnement continental de choix, l'irigeant au hub régional dans une multitude de domaines. Par ailleurs, la nouvelle ambition portée par le nouveau modèle de développement permet d'élargir les perspectives du pays et de renforcer ses capacités de résilience en mettant l'accent notamment sur l'édification d'un capital humain en pleine capacitation et en ligne avec l'opérationnalisation des pactes nationaux d'accélération de la transformation de l'écosystème de l'enseignement supérieur, de la recherche scientifique et de l'innovation à horizon 2030. Ce pacte qu'on est en train de dérouler aujourd'hui au niveau de toutes les universités consacre l'ancrage numérique aux innovations pédagogiques, tant au niveau du contenu que des méthodes et des approches d'apprentissage, des plateformes d'enseignement en ligne, Digital Learning Center, le Code 212, gouvernance numérique axée sur un système d'information global et intégré. Œuvre pour la capacité des étudiants à travers la place centrale accordée aux modules de formation en Power Skills, la compétence linguistique et digitale, compétences transversales, art, culture, histoire, ouverture sur le monde associatif, activités para-universitaires et bien d'autres actions. Ce pacte encourage également l'alignement de l'offre de formation du capital humain sur les besoins actuels et futurs des systèmes productifs, dont notamment les profils de cadres, d'ingénieurs, de data scientists, auxquels s'ajoute le programme de formation continue et de certification des compétences dans les domaines du numérique. Le pacte opte également pour le déploiement des programmes de formation ciblés, visant la dotation des secteurs prioritaires en capital humain, notamment la santé, l'éducation, le numérique, l'automobile et l'aéronautique, ainsi qu'en sciences humaines et sociales. Le pacte ISRI vise la promotion d'une recherche scientifique aux standards internationaux, portée par une nouvelle génération de docteurs moniteurs et étroitement alignée sur les priorités nationales dans des secteurs soulevant des enjeux de souveraineté et de durabilité, à titre d'exemple l'eau, la santé, l'énergie, le numérique, l'industrie et bien d'autres. Et enfin, le pacte impulse les activités de l'innovation sur leur ancrage au niveau régional pour forger des profils de spécialisation à forte valeur ajoutée à travers la valorisation des atouts dont sont dotés les territoires. De tels choix transformateurs reflètent dans leur substrat un changement de paradigme consacrant la prééminence du capital humain et l'anticipation de transformations qui s'opèrent à l'échelle nationale et internationale. Mesdames et messieurs, avant de clore, je voudrais saisir cette occasion pour remercier vivement toutes celles et tous ceux qui ont participé à l'organisation de cet événement important. Mes remerciements les plus chaleureux vont également à l'équipe de l'IM6P qui a généreusement apporté son expertise pour le réussir. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention et je vous souhaite une agréable journée.
A little over 2 weeks ago, the Institute for International Education in New York City published some numbers about what international students look like in America right now. 2/3 of the million students were all in 3 disciplines: engineering, computer science, and business. This says much to where we are right now. The other statistic that I found absolutely astounding is that 2 out of every 5 students entering university in the United States believe that they'll be the founder of a company or a partner in a company and believe that entrepreneurship, small business, and startups are the future. I say this because our next speaker, Dr. Santanya, is an economist, an expert on finance, and an entrepreneur himself, and will, I hope, speak to this exact question. what does it look like? What does this future look like for a generation of people who see themselves as entrepreneurs and builders and innovators? Please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to the university for having invited me to be here. It's a great honor, of course. I'm very impressive because it's my first visit to this university and it's a reality of this new, marvelous and modern Morocco. But let me say that I love also this traditional Morocco, this Arab country, this wonderful place to be. I was born myself here in Morocco, in Tetuan, and let me start by doing a very short personal homage to Mr. Andrea Zuley, that is here present in this forum. Thank you, Andre, for your speech yesterday night. It was sensible, it was sincere, it was deep, and I show you a little bit sad because of the current situation in Israel and Palestine. Andrea Zuley and myself, we have been working together in the last 30 years, trying to improve this new Morocco, try to open the country to democracy, to liberalism, to privatizations. He is the hero of the modernity of Morocco, not only the factor of the peace between Israel and Palestine. Today, we are passing bad moments, complicated moments, but I want to start my intervention with something that one of the most important Spanish poets, Antonio Machado, said years ago, that is, today is always still. That means that there is always something to do, there is something to change, and we will talk about this right now. I have many things to say. I don't know if I can do it in 10 minutes and with this poor English, but I will try. I will do my best. For changing a paradigm, you have first to analyze where you are. My perception is that our world is taking wrong decisions based on a very wrong diagnostic. I will try to explain what is my diagnostic about the world that we are living now. Let me talk about the part that I know better, that is the economy and finance. There are 4 previous postulates or critical assumptions that we have to assume. Number 1, there is a new economic and financial order. But it is not the case that this new order is coming. No, no. This new order is in place with 12 characteristics. Number 1 is no longer global but partial. Is no longer multilateral but bloc-based. Is no longer liberal but protectionist. That is, does not share common legal security. That it does not share the same essential infrastructures in communication and information and data technologies. That they compete for energy supplies and essential materials. That doesn't share the same sustainability criteria. That doesn't share the same governance and transparency of information and accounting, nor the same model of regulatory compliance. That doesn't not share the same ethical principles and values. That doesn't not share the same concept of individual or collective responsibility and commitment. That doesn't not share the same criteria and sensitiveness on immigration. And finally, because we are in Morocco, because we are in Africa, and this is very important, with an Europe and the United States that have abandoned Africa to China and Russia in terms of investment and cooperation. This is the reality, is my reality. Second postulate or assumptions. Security strategies and tactics do not work because they are based on desires and old objectives rather than in new realities. Let me explain a little bit this. The problem is that each of us wants the world that we want without taking into account the world that others want. It's very old to think that capitalism can have a supremacy on communism. This is not possible. We have to accept that we have to live together with different systems and respect them. Third assumption, economic globalization is not compatible with the global democratization in our use, as we think. I think in a democracy. You think in a democracy. The other one think in another type of democracy. We cannot impose the Western democracy to all the world. This is old-fashioned. This is not possible. This is not real. And we have to accept that there are other ways to think the world. And respect them. And cooperate with them. And collaborate with them and find, if it is possible, the common denominators. If it is possible, multiples. Assumption number 4. The size of the contenders in the world, especially the United States and China, that are the strongest, will not allow the victory of one over the other. This is not possible. So, my personal opinion and my thought is that we have to switch rapidly from the concepts of control, security, protection, wars, to, and yesterday in the dinner we hear these words many times, collaborative cooperation, comprehension, understanding. This is the way to work. Now, let me go inside the 6 new challenges of the financial and economic world. If I have time, I would like to go inside a little bit more in each of them. Number one, nobody talks about this, but it's a reality. There is a new international platform of transactions, financial transactions, based on the yuan or renminbi, in order to avoid the importance of the dollar in the commercial and financial world. There is a fight in the energy supply and in the strategic provisioning of essential raw materials that are especially in Africa and in Latin America, where Europeans and Americans are living. Well, it seems that trying to be more present now is a good news. But we have to be in a hurry because it's a little bit late. The position of China in Africa and in Latin America is very strong, and each day stronger. There is a very important issue: data management and sovereign clouds. All these are questions related to what it is more important every day, that is the strategic autonomy of countries and people. We want to be autonomous. We want to be independent. We don't want to be dependent on others. And this is right. But be autonomous doesn't mean be against the others. You can be autonomous and share your autonomy with others in a good faith. Semiconductors and chips for digital industrialization. The development of artificial intelligence. And finally, it's not an economic issue, but it's a political and social one, very relevant. The internal decomposition of nations due to populism and increasing authoritarianism. Those are the cancers of our new times. Maybe we can talk about these issues in the debate. There are many important things in the economic field that we have to understand better. For example, we still think that we can drive the global economy and the good behavior of our economies through, as usual, the monetary policy. But the monetary policy is not sufficient, because now it is not the case to drive the economy by increasing or decreasing the monetary mass, the money, the issue of money around the world. The real issue is how to govern the supply, the price of the energy, the availability of this energy. We have been seeing how the prices of energy has been conditioning very deeply the behavior of our global economy, much more than the interest rates. So we have to switch a lot of our thoughts, and we have to change these new thoughts rapidly, and we have to take actions. It's time to action. Let me just finish by saying there are more than 10 or 12 examples like this one of the monetary policy, but I have not time to talk about now, maybe late. I want to finish with some good purposes. Yesterday, the cardinal in the dinner was talking about fraternity. He is a cardinal, and everybody can expect that a cardinal talk about fraternity. None are financial men like me or entrepreneur. But I want to talk about that. We need to talk about that. Look, our democracies are based on the principles of the French Revolution. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. What happens with this? We have dedicated thousands of laws around the world to guarantee the freedom. We are dedicating thousands of laws to guarantee the equality. But what happened with the fraternity? The third leg, the small sister, every year smaller. Because the new version of fraternity is cooperation, international cooperation, is sustainability. But now, those are under politics. The fraternity is on the bottom of the heart of every human being, not in the political decisions. And in this trilogy of our democracies, we have a lack in fraternity, which is more deeper than sustainability, which is more deeper than cooperation. What happened with the new way of fraternity, like, for example, cooperation in Africa? All the big countries of the world are cutting their budgets of cooperation with Africa. This is the reality of the new fraternity. So we have to retake this fraternity in the middle of our decisions. Thanks.
Some sobering words. We will return to them and give your colleagues an opportunity to respond, in particular to the cancers you spoke of. Our next speaker is a U.S. diplomat, has a distinguished career with the United States government, and brings a special understanding of the world because the posts he's held have been so different here in Russia, in Washington, and around the world, and as a spokesperson for other African State Department missions in Africa. I'd like you to welcome Mr. Nick Barnett.
Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to speak on this important topic. It's been interesting listening to my fellow panelists speak, and I have some thoughts that I came with and some thoughts that I've added while I've been listening. And one of the first thoughts I have is that change is hard. It really is. Particularly when we talk about changing your paradigm, changing the way we think. We're not built for that. I actually read an article probably a couple of years ago that a study was done that scanned people's brains while they were presented with information that disagreed with their beliefs. And the scans showed that the parts of the brain associated with physical pain reacted to being exposed to information that differed with their beliefs. So think about it. The very act of being challenged in your beliefs, challenged to change, creates a sensation that's something like physical pain. And what do humans do when they're faced with physical pain? They avoid it. So we do live in an uncertain world. We live in a world that's beset with conflict, with climate change, with pandemic, with inequality, with poverty. It's uncertain. Where are we going? What's next? I think there's a general feeling of concern, of fear. But the only thing that's more scary than uncertainty, I would argue, is change. And this is coming from somebody whose country is built around the idea of change. Our founders were deeply flawed in many ways, just as they were brilliant in many ways, and we're lucky that the brilliance outweighed the flaws in the sense that they built a constitution, a system of government that allowed the people to make change when they found that something wasn't working. Now, that didn't happen quickly. We spent well over half of our existence denying most Americans the right to vote. We spent another 50 years, almost up to our 200th anniversary, denying a good chunk of Americans equal rights under the law. And that change didn't happen easily. It wasn't like we woke up one day and said, oh, this is wrong, this is not in keeping with our values. It took courage. It took courageous individuals, Susan B. Anthony, Martin Luther King, lesser-known figures like Gloria Richardson, who led protests in my hometown, which never made the papers, but was nonetheless a major factor for change. People who risked their lives and their livelihoods to call us to be something better. And I have to imagine that even in my lifetime, I will have an opportunity to look back on something that I took for granted, maybe right now, that I accepted as okay, that I'll think, gosh, how could we ever have done that? How could we ever have allowed that to happen? And it'll probably take somebody else to point it out to me. Change is hard. But that's really what diplomacy is about. And I think it's what this conference is about. And part of the reason that it's wonderful that it's happening at a university is because universities are a place that we go at a time in our lives when maybe we're more open to change. Or at least we're exposed to different viewpoints in a way that forces us to change. I'll tell a short personal story that really doesn't have anything to do with politics, but it does tell about change. I was not an active child. I started my freshman year of university about 45 kilos heavier than I am now. I could not run more than a few feet, but I was convinced to join the rowing team. Get in a boat and you pull with 4 or 8 other people and try to win a race. Completely outside of my experience, something I didn't think I could do. I thought it was a way to get invited to parties. That was true too. But more importantly, when I set foot in the boat the first day and saw the sunrise over the Long Island Sound, something changed in me and I said, I like this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to put effort into it. And it hurt. I had blisters on my hands. I would fall asleep in class because we got up at 4 in the morning for practice. My legs were sore. I couldn't walk upstairs. But over the course of 4 years, I changed. And I changed not just physically, and to this day, I'm an active person, so I changed for life. I changed the way I thought about myself. I changed the way I thought about what I could do. And this is one of the reasons why I love my job. Because we are in the business of challenging people to change, of presenting different ideas. In this room alone, we have some of our current Fulbright exchange programs, as well as several alumni. It's a great example of a program that exposes people to new ideas and new perspectives. We take people out of their comfort zones and put them into a different place. And believe me, it's not just what they bring to the countries they visit, it's what they gain. It's what they take home. That's the value in those exchanges. And it's not just Fulbright. We have over 4,000 exchange program alumni here in Morocco, people who have gone to the US or interacted with Americans who've come here, who've exchanged different paradigms, who've challenged each other to think differently. And that's exactly what the world needs at this particular time. We need to be challenged. I'm challenged by some of the ideas of my fellow panelists. I would sit here and tell you I don't agree with everything they said. That's good, because it will make me think. It will make me question some of my assumptions. It might make me question how I need to strengthen my argument. And in doing so, I might find that there's a weakness in the argument itself, not just the words I choose, but in the actual premise. One of the reasons that I feel proud to work for the US government and to represent the United States overseas is because I see us learning. We're not a perfect country. We never have been. We probably never will be. And frankly, if any country or any person anywhere ever thinks they've achieved perfection, I'd say they've stopped growing, and they've stopped learning, and they've stopped contributing to the global challenges that we all face. So when I get to meet with local audiences and I'm challenged and presented with different perspectives, sometimes it's painful, but it's welcome, because through that pain, we can achieve change. Now, at this university and during this conference, you'll have the opportunity to think about some of these challenges and how we might think differently. I think some of the points about the way the global economy that my colleague raised are really important if we're going to talk about things like climate change. Some of the things that drive the challenges that we face today are deeply ingrained in the systems that we live by every single day. And it can feel scary, maybe impossible to change those things. These things we take for granted about the way the world works, but those are exactly the things we have to question. Again, there was a time in America where nobody could imagine an African American being free to live on their own. Well, or at least very few people, too few. We had to fight a war over it to get past that particular point in our history. Diplomacy is about getting to those answers without the war. And so I encourage you, even if it's painful, even if it causes emotional distress, to recommit to those conversations, to question your assumptions, question your experiences, and be open to the perspective of others so that we can find a way forward. Because I truly believe that the solution to the world's uncertainty is not in the things that we know now, but it's the things we will discover in the future. Here in Morocco, I've been inspired in my short time, I've only been here about 4 months, by meeting with some of our participants from programs like DigiGirls, where we introduce Moroccan girls to STEM, to science, technology, engineering, and math, to challenge stereotypes about what women can do and what's their appropriate place. I was even inspired when the Atlas Lionesses began to advance in the Women's World Cup, that we saw memes on social media about going back to the kitchen when they lost their first match. But then, I don't know if you saw it, but the brand Knorr put out an ad when they started winning, saying the only thing that belongs in the kitchen is Knorr. Brilliant advertising, brilliant message. But we saw that change. We saw those lionesses challenge the assumptions about what they could do and what their role should be. Sometimes change takes a long time. Sometimes it's centuries, but sometimes it's mere weeks. When you see that opportunity, when you see that chance to challenge something head on and make an impact, I encourage you to take it. I know that the programs that we've done here are not just valuable because of the program themselves. They're valuable because of the lessons that our participants take with them. U.S. partnership, and I would stress that word because that is what we seek, is not dependency, not control, but partnership. And Morocco is a shining example of how that can develop. Almost 200 years ago, a leader of what is now as Morocco took a chance on a fledgling nation across the Atlantic. If you ever have a chance to visit the legation in Tanger, there's a very interesting quote from George Washington acknowledging how poor a partner the United States was for Morocco at that time. Other than some really good land and space, we didn't have a whole lot to give. But over 200 years, our relationship has developed into something more powerful. And that, again, is what diplomacy is about. It's an investment in relationships, an investment in partnerships, an investment in capabilities, because we know that we can't do it alone. We need our partners. And so we will continue to invest here and around the world in those partnerships. But I encourage our partners to challenge us to be the best partners that we can be, to help us to understand how we can partner effectively to provide the change and maybe bring a little bit more measure of certainty to the world that we face. I look forward to continuing this conversation during my time here in Morocco. I thank you again for allowing me to speak to you this morning and welcome the discussion with the panel. Thank you so much.
Fascinating observations, and I very much appreciate you bringing the personal to the professional. It matters to us. I know here today you have a political scientist, a university administrator, a politician, an economist, a diplomat, and now an engineer. I don't know how at this university we got to engineering so late, but Professor Thomas Prefi is our engineer. Sir.
So thank you very much for having me here, distinguished guests, excellencies, members of the university. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I say deeply thank you for giving us the opportunity. We're talking about change, and change, there is no hotline where you can complain. It happens. And I'm talking about the word transformation, and transformation means that you try to get the grip on change and to direct it into a certain direction where you can make use of it. It's not sure that it works, yeah, because change is tricky, but at least we try to do so. I'm here to represent the Charlemagne Prize Foundation. Well, we are as old as the European community, almost, and we are accompanying the European community in giving prizes to the people where we think that they contributed to the unity of Europe. These are people like Schuman, which is connected to the first contracts that were made in the, around the EU. People like Winston Churchill, short after the war. People like Helmut Kohl, of course, François Mitterrand, Giscard d'Estaing, Macron, Guterres, the two popes, just to name some of them. But even Bill Clinton is a laureate of the Charlemagne Prize, no? In his work that he did for Europe and the partnership he established. When the prize was born, Europe was destroyed, and it was the fault of the Germans. So we were the underdogs of Europe. And in my hometown was destroyed by 60% when people that founded the Charlemagne Prize had a vision of living together in peace. And so you can say that the EU, in the first place, is a peacekeeping project. And that worked pretty well, we have to say. Today there are 400 million Europeans in 27 EU countries. We are the biggest market on the planet. So economically speaking, we are a superpower, but not in politics and not in military. There we are a kind of soft power, based on values where we decide on to live together, yeah? Just like the human rights and humanity and liberty, probably the same like the French Revolution was based on. So if you look at that, this is a successful project. And well, but to keep track, you should not lose your people. If you lose your people, there might be a step back. If you look at the Brexit, this for sure is a step back. A disaster, so to say, for the EU, that something like that, this had to happen because you just lost the confidence of the people. You left people behind, as we say, and this is something that should not happen. If you look at the Brexit result, I have a nice example. So somebody from Great Britain sent me a Christmas present last year, but it didn't arrive at Christmas. It arrived at Easter, and I had to pay 100 euros on taxes. So that is a change back that is for Europeans unbelievable. If something like this happens, it's just like a message out of a different century. So we have to do everything that something like this does not happen. So if I think about my famous European moment, then I always think about Claude Juncker, who was the former minister president of Luxembourg. Luxembourg has 600,000 inhabitants. And he stood there with Huan Jintao from China. Yeah? And he took him in his arm and he said, you know what, together we represent a quarter of the world's population. Yeah, so this is the European feeling. No? Each country of its own is of no big relevance on this planet. But if you count us all together, then we can make a difference. No? Now, the European community, well, is under pressure. We have the war in Ukraine. We have the war in the Near East. We have the problem with migration. And we are going to develop. Probably there are soon 35 members of the European community. But how to do and when to do. So is the question, now is the time, we can do it now? Or is it more the question that there have to be structural reforms to prepare for 35 members and decision-making with 35 members? This is the biggest question that is ahead now, and I hope that we find good solutions. As a Charlemagne Prize Academy, we are a platform where people come together, politicians, researchers, and talk about how we want to live together and how do we want to work together and where are we going to live from in future. These are the topics that are on relevance for us, and we try to present this today and here. A word to the university. Yeah, we are talking about research. And if I look into the big tech sector in the US, this is a result of research. If you look at the market capitalization of those companies, you reach $1 trillion, which seems to be quite much. And if you talk about prosperity and welfare of the people, you cannot leave a wave like that behind. You have to take it. Yeah? Europe was not so successful in taking this digitalization wave that was there. And well, knowledge comes out of university. And of course, it's the question, can you turn knowledge out of the university into business? There is this word that we are not researching for library. We should research for industry. Yeah? And we talk about the valley of death of innovation that sometimes happens between university and being an entrepreneur. So university has to be the basis for young leaders and the basis for entrepreneurs, and prepare them to turn good ideas and innovation, not into paper, but into business and for the sake and the welfare of their people. I think this is a role that we cannot emphasize enough in this point. Yeah, what is the next big thing? If you look at that, it's climate, yeah, and it's the decarbonization of the economy. Renewable energy is one of the bases to do so. Germany tries to be quite sustainable, and the EU just announced the Green Deal. If you look into the Green Deal by numbers, they promise a reduction by CO2 emissions of 55% until 2030 and by 100% in 2050. The budget for that is €1 billion, only out of the EU. No? If you look into the companies, and the companies which are producing have to change and have to invest money to reach this target, you can say, and this is a number that Siemens just mentioned, that they say that the money out of the actors that come out of the state, so this billion is around 5%, and then the rest, 95, has to come out of the company. So this is really a very, very big thing. And it's my pleasure to say that Morocco is in an excellent position. Yeah? If you take the energy that comes from the sun, and it's around a kilowatt on a square meter that comes down from the sun, then we don't have really an energy problem. It's just a problem of harvesting and distribution. In Germany, we have thousands of hours of sun a year. We have 2,000 hours of wind onshore, 4,000 hours of wind offshore. But unfortunately, the year has 8,600 hours. So what are we doing with the rest? And for the rest, you need storage. And the technical solution for this storage is green hydrogen. And yeah, with your natural resources, Morocco is an excellent source for that. And I guess if we look at the change that is ahead, yeah, we should take the idea of transformation and guide it in the right direction. And I guess Morocco is there in a perfect situation. Yeah, this is why I said change has no hotline where you can complain. You just can try and make the best out of it. Lichtenberg once said that it's not clear if it's getting better if there is change, but what is clear is that if it should get better, there has to be change. Yeah? So just let there be change. Thank you.
I'm going to ask our panelists to respond to a particular set of observations. But before I do that, I want to tell a very quick little personal story myself. It was 1990. I was a brand new political science professor teaching international politics. I had written a doctoral dissertation on structural change in the global economy. Georgy Arbatov, then the chair of the Central Committee in the Soviet Union, invited me to come to the Soviet Academy of Sciences and speak to them about change. I thought, sure. So away I went. It was an interesting couple of days. On the way back on the plane, I sat beside an American journalist named Charles Krauthammer. He looked at me and he said, "What do you do?" I very proudly said, "I'm a professor of international politics." And he said, "That's very sad." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "That's very sad." And I said, "Why would you say that?" And he said, "Because the world is changing more quickly than you guys can schedule seminars to discuss it." And that was in the days when the internet was brand new, when change was at one level in big and important things. What we're facing right now is change everywhere. Technology, the nature of work, expectations of youth, engineering, generative AI. My question to each of the panelists to start is, how do we manage that complexity? How do we manage that uncertainty? How do we manage those fears that change and complexity and uncertainty bring? And I'll start with our host.
Thank you so much. What a question. So it will bring me to the what UM6P was doing here. So this is the best thing I could talk about. Our signature is Empower Minds. So here, our goal is, as it's written, Empower Minds. What does it mean? Is to give them the skills to deal with the complexity. We cannot manage the complexity. We cannot handle it. We have to deal with that. We have to accept. We have to understand what complexity is, what are the good things coming from the complexity, and to deal with that. The second thing is to take any challenge we are facing as a great opportunity, especially here in Africa. Talk about Africa and what's happening here in Africa. I would take just one example linked to the food security. So today, everyone thinks about Africa as a problem for the food security, and it was the case last year with the war in Ukraine, how to import all the wheat and so on and so forth. But Africa, and we need to believe in that, so that's why we have to give all the knowledge, the science, the research, about the fact that 60% of the arable land that are unused so far are in Africa. So Africa will be the solution for the food security. But will we use exactly the same path than the North regarding the green revolution? The answer should be no, because now we have new tools, we have new technologies, AI, generative AI, and so on and so forth. And we could leverage on these new tools to develop a new way of doing agriculture in a sustainable way. Even Africa is responsible for less than 4% of the global emissions, but Africa is suffering the most from this all the climate change. So the idea here is, with all this complexity, we need to understand that, we need to embrace that, and we need to transform that on great opportunity to leapfrog the innovation, not having the exact same path than what happened in Europe, in the US, in Brazil, or India. And we have one example, I think we talked about that yesterday. It's about the mobile banking. It was invented here in Africa. Why? Because we had to leapfrog the development of the telecommunication. We didn't follow the exact same path than in the US. That's why it's from nothing to the mobile banking, and now Africa is at the forefront of this revolution. So this is it for me, and the role of the university is just to give the opportunity to the youth in terms of empowering them to embrace the complexity and to transform that on a competitive advantage.
Thank you. Your Excellency?
Let me just come back before to answer to the person, to the human being, to the individuals. For facing changes, you must have, first of all, the volunteer to do it. There are so many times that we are talking about ideas, solutions, but without the real volunteer to make an action to change. So first of all, we need to have the volunteer to have this on the table, to do and to promote those changes. We have to be convinced, first of all. Second, this is very old. You have to practice. Don't do for another human being what you don't want for you. This is utopic, because you look at the world and it seems that it doesn't run. But we have to repeat it every day as we repeat other things. Let me put two examples of good volunteer for change. Two personal examples. I am myself chairman of the advisory board in Europe of McGraw-Hill, which is the strongest editing and now also in digital education company in the world. It's an American company. McGraw-Hill in the university, you will know. I have been chairman of Bain & Company, an American specialized strategic advisory company, established worldwide, very important. But I have wrote a book that is called Human Capitalism, 20 years ago. I am myself an academician and an entrepreneur also. I sleep 3 hours and I write during the nights and in the weekends. And during the day, I work as an executive and an entrepreneur, etc. And I was approached by, in a conference like this one in Tunisia, by a top boss of China after my intervention about human capitalism. And he said, Mr. Olcese, I am very interested in this because my country can move to this kind of vision of the economy. I don't share the financial capitalism. I'm sorry, I don't share this type of capitalism. But I believe in capitalism, but in another capitalism. We are talking today about this. We have to move from one type of capitalism to another type of capitalism that can be shared by others. Like, for example, Chinese. And now I am vice chairman worldwide of the World Public Diplomacy Organization from China. That is a think tank dedicated to try to find ways to integrate those type of thoughts to be transformed in actions. China, the government of China sent to me 3 years ago a big delegation of 25 leaders of the top 25 companies for a seminar of 2 weeks in Madrid and Barcelona about corporate governance, compliance, and corporate social responsibility. I am myself an expert on that. I have wrote 11 books about this topic. And they decided to try to understand how we are managing our new capitalism, trying to move to that. I don't know if at the end it will be a good result or a result enough, but those are steps that we are trying to do in order to put things together and not to put things outside our perimeters. We have to integrate. So, sorry, those are examples that can explain what we have to do. We have to leave our strong thoughts outside, and we have to think if we can move to other thoughts and interaction with other people that we consider our enemies. Because everybody wants to deal with the United States. Everybody wants to deal with China also. And there is a lot of things to do together.
Thank you. It's a good question. These are big challenges, and the things that we're talking about are big changes. And we just talked about how change is hard, and we're talking about it. And I would say there's a saying, particularly American, that talk is cheap. It's easy to talk, it's harder to do. But I think coming back to some of the themes that I was thinking about earlier, the solution is about empowering more people to be involved in the solution process. It's about decentralizing the solution process. Again, I gave some examples of courageous Americans who changed the course of our nation. They were individuals who were able to lead the change. They were able to challenge the paradigm that we had. And I think the same will be true for these global challenges. It's a lot of what inspires me about these relatively small projects that we do with maybe 30 or 50 or 100 students. We don't tell them what to think. We give them tools. We challenge them to think differently, or we give them skills that allow them to take their thoughts further than they could on their own. We try to pair them with others who can lift them up even higher in the hopes that there's another great, courageous person there, in the belief. I think, when you fundamentally reflect on democracy, at least the way that the US sees it, and I think, my counterpart here raised the idea that there's different ways of going about it. But fundamentally, it's about a faith in people. It's about the belief that people, given the chance, will generally do the right thing, that they will generally seek to make things better. And certainly, there are enough examples of where that faith is misplaced. Human beings can also be deeply disappointing. But when we're good, when we rise to the occasion, my gosh, we're magnificent. The things that we can do, putting people in space, sending spacecraft outside of our solar system, peering back to the beginnings of time, changing the way the world works, feeding millions or billions through technological innovation. It's all possible. And I think that that's what gives humanity hope. And so I don't expect the answer to come necessarily from these existing mega structures. They might be part of the implementation once they see the way, but I think it's going to take those special people to show the way, and our job is to give as many people as many tools and opportunities as possible in the hopes that we find those few who can really help us change the way that we think.
Yes, thank you. So complexity is rising and, change is accelerating. Humans are not built for that, that's clear. And, when we were in the wilderness and there was a lion approaching, you could do two things. You just stood still or you ran away. Yeah? But doing nothing creates stress. And if we are under stress, we get sick. We get a burnout or something. So the best thing to do something against it is do something. Yeah? So doing the right thing, it's clear that a good education helps in finding the right measures. No? And by being educated, complexity is going down because you understand more and more and more. Talking as a company leader, the first thing probably is something like create a clear picture of the situation. Yeah? If you have that, you should find a common vision and say, where are we going? and then you collect the measures that you have to take to go there. If you have this clear plan, so the fear of change and complexity is going down. And probably you see it as a chance to drive change in the right direction, and then it should be fine. So this is probably sometimes easier said than done. And another remark is that the culture of a nation sometimes helps. So if you see Germans reacting in chaotic situations, they don't like chaos. The French are much better in managing the chaos. So even it helps to bring different nationalities into a team because they have different attitudes of dealing with the situation. And especially men and women too in a team help to get a better feeling for the situation because the angle of knowledge and the angle of reception is much broader then. Thank you.
I want just to build about the complexity here at the university. So we organize once a year what we call Science Week, and this year it was about complexity. So we brought a lot of experts to share with the students what complexity is about and why we need really to embrace that and to be able to move forward. The second thing is that's we built on this Science Week, and now we have a chair of complexity within UM6P that are spreading the knowledge about complexity with the community. The second thing is not to tackle, but to deal with the complexity. We need collective intelligence. We need people from different backgrounds. That's why we have a school of collective intelligence at UM6P. We are really lucky to be a greenfield university. So in this chaos, and I do agree with you, we are a lot of chaotic here, so there is no stable organization or operating model. The idea here is to create chaos, and out of this chaos, we will have something that will work. That's why we decided to bring science regarding how to work together to deal with this complexity. So we have a School of Collective Intelligence and Master of Science in this area. We are, I think, the only university in the world with the Master of Science in the area of collective intelligence.
Thank you. Well, about 3 months ago, I was speaking at a conference in Cannes on the future of higher education. And every discussion, every presentation led back to the same thing, AI. It's very interesting that we've got through much of our discussion here with very little talk about AI. There was a room much like this, and nobody was in the middle. Half the people were here and half the people were on the other side. This half were what I call the hopeful half. That half was the fearful half. So what I'd like to do now is ask our panelists to speak about or share their views on their hopes and their fears about generative AI.
I would jump in. This is a new era about the generative. So about AI here at UM6P, so we have a Center of AI that was accredited by UNESCO, I think 3 weeks ago, the first one here in Africa dealing with AI, the ethics about AI. So if there is some fears, mainly about ethics, that's why we are developing research on this topic. Now about the generative AI. So far, it's a real challenge for even our faculty, our researchers, how to embrace that. We cannot just fight against that. This is reality. The students are using that. And I organized a town hall with the young faculty. It was, I think, 5 or 6 weeks ago. And I asked them clearly about introducing ChatGPT in our curriculum. They need to push the student to be that. But yeah, it's more the faculty who are fearful, more than the students. The students are using that. It's already the case. It's not that easy. Even we are a very young university. That's why I'm betting on the young faculty to push them with some call for projects in how to introduce ChatGPT in the way we are doing education. The same thing in terms of research. It's a new era. For me as a university, we need to give the opportunity to the student to build on that. This is the future of and we cannot fight against that. It's someone told me about ChatGPT. It's like Google. Now, if we want to search on something on the web, yeah, it's for us now. It's like breathing. It's the same for ChatGPT. It will be the case. So yeah, we need to embrace that.
I'm sorry, je vais parler en français. Donc, concernant l'intelligence artificielle, aujourd'hui, c'est un domaine qui est là. Hier, c'était un rêve. Aujourd'hui, c'est une réalité. Et je vais intervenir dans le côté de l'enseignement supérieur, dans l'enseignement général, parce que c'est mon domaine. Je pense aujourd'hui que l'intelligence artificielle, tout ce qui est ChatGPT et les autres applications et les autres programmes, nous interpellent tous en tant qu'enseignants. De ce fait, on devrait l'accepter, on devrait discuter entre nous, l'accepter et peut-être changer aussi le mode d'enseignement aujourd'hui. Il y a longtemps, c'était le prof qui avait le savoir, qui possédait le savoir. Aujourd'hui, le savoir, il est partout. Aujourd'hui, on devrait changer nos méthodes pédagogiques pour pouvoir peut-être adopter de nouvelles méthodes pédagogiques, notamment tout ce qui est classe inversée. Utilisation de l'intelligence artificielle pour accompagner nos étudiants à travailler seuls. C'est aussi un changement de paradigme qu'il faut introduire au niveau de l'étudiant d'aujourd'hui. Parce que le savoir, il est là, l'intelligence artificielle, elle est là, et donc tout ceci nous impose de l'accepter, de discuter entre nous quelles sont les limites acceptables et de pouvoir changer, que ce soit l'enseignant, que ce soit l'étudiant. Aujourd'hui, on apprend que même la recherche est faisable via l'intelligence artificielle. Alors, quel est le rôle du doctorant? Quel est le rôle du chercheur? Puisque tout ceci existe, c'est une réalité. Voilà.
I strongly think that artificial intelligence is the best happening in our life, for sure. And it's just the door to an incredible modernization and development of the humanity. So we have to improve as much as possible the development, but we have to regulate strongly the use. This is my thought. Let me introduce a discussion, if you allow me, on a specific topic about this, that are I mentioned before, the sovereign clouds. The data are fundamental for the process and the development of artificial intelligence. And there is a strong debate around the world about what the countries used to call now the sovereign clouds. Every country wants to have a sovereign cloud, which is very difficult because the technology is American or is Chinese. It's very difficult. So what is really the degree of autonomy that you will have in your sovereign cloud that is the mother of the developments of artificial intelligence? And the control of this is really very powerful, really very powerful. In Europe, we are discussing now the creation of this autonomous cloud, sovereign cloud for Europe, which is very complicated. The European Commission is enhancing the different countries to develop their own cloud and then merge the cloud of the Spanish state with the Germans, with the French, and create one that could be the third. But we have strong difficulties because in the first stage of the artificial intelligence and of the cloud, we found that the unique technologies are Americans or Chinese. We cannot be independent. Where I want to come, the problem is when you feel that you will not be autonomous because in the United States there is a Patriot Act that allows not the Senate or the Congress, allows the President of the United States to decide from one day to another if every single data in the world has been discovered to him and to the US government. For not saying that the Chinese do the same, but it is not the president of China that has the power to do it, but many other officials can do it, and they used to do it. And this creates fear between all of us. This creates a lack of independence and a lack of autonomy, because we don't feel autonomous, we don't feel secured, and it is a problem. So if we can think that we can be more open and declare that we will use those technologies in another way without these specific restrictions of strong control that are on the hands of two persons all over the world that affects all of us, this is a big issue. Because if this is not solved, we will be always in a fear, we will be always in a misunderstandings, we will be always in restrictions. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I might respectfully disagree with some characterizations about the limitations on executive power in the US, but that's not the topic of today's discussion. But worth noting that there are concerns about secure networks and making sure that our global information infrastructure is one that can be trusted, is one where people can operate with a reasonable degree of confidence that their information is protected, that their personal information is protected. That's something we very much share, and I think it's worth a broader conversation, particularly when it comes to AI as such a powerful tool. I tend to fall into Camp Hope. I think we've seen the power of technology throughout human history is really, whether it's for good or ill, is up to the people who use it. Plastic saves millions of lives in medical applications every year. It also has the potential and is currently destroying ecosystems around the planet. I can tell you in my lifetime, the anomaly of walking across a piece of plastic on a beach has become the norm. It's in your face, it's ever present. Again, going back to my fascination with space exploration, we can ride explosions to the stars or we can use them to destroy each other. The applications are entirely up to us, and AI will be no different. It absolutely has the potential to revolutionize the way we approach the challenges that we face. It also has the potential to be incredibly destructive. And this, again, comes back to the idea of broader cooperation. The idea that we should have conversations in space to talk about these challenges and think about the frameworks. The US is also looking at how we build frameworks to explore AI safely. But I also agree it's not something we can do alone. It's going to be a global challenge. So I think Camp Hope, but the little bit of fear is not a bad thing. Fear is an evolutionary tool to avoid danger. It has a place to play. When we feel that spark of fear, we should ask ourselves why, and then how do we put safeguards in to reduce the fear? And that's going to be the challenge for AI. So wholeheartedly embrace the exploration of what it can do, but being cognizant of the fact that the way it plays out will be completely decided by ourselves. It's within our hands.
Thank you. Well, we're nearing the end of our time here. I'll allow you.
Just, a sentence. So what we see at the moment with ChatGPT is no AI. It's just machine learning. So it's based on a bunch of old data. And this is what you experience if you ask questions. Sometimes the answer fits, sometimes not. No? So what we see in future is much more. If this stuff gets autonomous, of course, there are some risks ahead. And of course, the states are questioned. There should be a kind of regulation. It's no totally clear. And in the transition phase, there will be fraud with that, of course. If today you get a call from a child with the voice of the child that asks you to transfer money, but it's a computer, it's generated, and this happens, no? So, and if grandma just steps into that, that's a problem, yeah? But no major problem that should lead us to the idea that we should abolish AI. It will just happen. We will not. There's no way. So we have to deal with it. And I guess at the end, the chances are much bigger than the risks.
Well, thank you. I will add one observation of my own. The data does suggest that young people do have some fears, and they relate primarily to the future of work. What does work look like in a world where AI has accomplished many of the tasks we've defined as work? I have a neighbor who was one of the original BlackBerry guys, and he has two children, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and he's writing algorithms now, trying to figure out which jobs will disappear so he can advise his children what to study in university. So there are some fears. Look, this has been a fascinating discussion. I really want to have you all join me in thanking our distinguished panel for sharing their views, their ideas, and having an honest discussion about change, complexity, and uncertainty. Thank you. I'm not in charge of anything, but I think it's lunch. Thank you.
Many thanks. Many thanks to our distinguished speakers for shedding light on the paradigm shifting for a new world of reality. And this new world, while shaping a better future, means continuing to create collaboration and synergies with partners in different fields. As together, we move further and the impact is bigger. Honorable attendees, UM6P is proudly partnered today with 3 institutions with whom Memorandum of Understanding will be signed. So now we'll be having our event team preparing the setup for the different signing ceremonies that we will be having. The first MOU to be signed is with the Royal European Academy of Doctors, RIAT, created in 1914 in Barcelona, which is a corporation aiming to invest, encourage, and disseminate knowledge through numerous numbers of the highest level of science. UM6P and RIAT expect to assess collaboration in different areas. Among them, encouraging study by developing qualified members of each institution, promoting collaborative research in areas of mutual interest, and developing short-term academic and developing programs. I'm welcoming to the floor Dr. Maria del Ángel Calvo Torres, Vice President of RIAT, and Mr. Hisham El Habti, President of UM6P. inviting Dr. Torres to share her thoughts about this new collaboration. Yes, please.
Excellency, on behalf of Dr. Alfredo Rocafort, President of the Royal Academy of European Doctor, and for myself, it is an honor and a satisfaction this mutual collaboration agreement with this important university, which will allow us to work together in all the mentioned area in the document and exchange our knowledge for benefit of society and with the desire to, and the desire to move forward together in order to achieve a better world, proposing as objective that we can peace and prosperity. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will invite the President to stay with us because we will be having 2 other MOUs to come. So the second MOU links UM6P to the African Women Leadership, to the African Women's Leader Network, established in 2017, that serve as a continental platform to support women's leadership in Africa toward peace and sustainable development. UM6P and RWLN are willing to work together on 3 key thematics: quality education to enable access to quality education for young African women and establish customized programs to young girls in high schools and university; community engagement to raise awareness and to promote women's participation of the importance of gender equality and women's leadership; and social innovation to set up employability and mentoring programs that promote successful transition. I am having with me in the floor Her Excellency Bineta Diop, AWLN co-convener and chairperson of the African Union Commission as a special envoy on women, peace and security, and Her Excellency Dr. Gurib Fakim Amina, former president of Mauritius from 2015 to 2018 and pioneer leader at AWLN. Excellencies, I'm inviting you to share some thought about this collaboration, please.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, it is indeed a very important moment in the history of this continent. And as this morning we've heard a great deal about change, we are also effective change within the midst of the African continent, because today we are showing the world that with an African agenda, with African means, with African institutions, with African talent, especially female talent, we can transform Africa. So that's the message I have today. And today we are signing to use the facilities, the brilliant and, of course, fantastic quality infrastructure that the Kingdom of Morocco has set up here. And we want to showcase to the world that excellence in Africa is possible and is happening. And through this, we'll bring the change that this continent needs and this continent deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me just say that this is a day that we will continue to celebrate. Mr. President, it's an honor for us to sign today after we met in May, and we decided that in transforming Africa, we need the leadership of women and the young women of this continent to be part of this transformation. Yesterday in the night, we were hearing how Africa have the culture, the tradition, and everything we have to make sure that we continue to bring peace and development in our continent. You know, if we don't bring Africa in the development world, I don't think that the world will continue in the peace that we all think should be. So we need to bring our continent. And today we have been discussing what is the human capital. And I think it's a way to bring the young Africans, but also the young women of Africa to lead our continent and to lead and to give the experience of us to the world. So today, the university, thanks to you, you are bringing us here, and we have a lot of hope. Not for us, we have done our bit, but for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you for this university to be one of the best in the world. I have been many times, the best, and we are very proud of you. So, Madam President, who is going to lead this with the African Union and with Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and other women leaders that we have, the AWLIN, the Africa Women Leaders Network, all of us will be together to make sure that this program will benefit the African women, but the young women and the young boys, because what we call the positive masculinity, we need men and women together to rebuild our continent. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellencies. Last but not least, the third MOU is with the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, which is Spain's national supercomputing center specializing in high-performance computing and playing an active role in Spain and Europe since 2015 to maintain international competitiveness in science and engineering. UM6P and the Barcelona Supercomputing Center will join their efforts to drive research forward HPC and exchange knowledges in research projects. I am welcoming on stage Professor Mateo Valero, as the Director of Barcelona Supercomputing Center.
Good morning to everyone. It's
my pleasure to be here, fourth time in Morocco, second time in your university, last year and this year, but always for teaching. So I am very sure that the next time I will come just for enjoy your beautiful country, your culture, your food, your people. So today is a very good day. I would like not just to sign the MOU, to do things, okay? And let me tell you that in Barcelona, we are around 1,000 people, and we do research. We use supercomputer for what? For change the world in the right direction. So now, in the 21st of December, we are going to inaugurate the Mare Nostrum. We call to our supercomputing Mare Nostrum, Mediterranean. Okay, so we are going to inaugurate the number 5, who has 4 supercomputers. Let me tell you that the 2 of them we have already working, had been in the top 20, number 8 and number 19. So we have worldwide. So we have an incredible instrument together with our people mainly and the AI to do many things. One of the things we do is that they call digital twins, virtual representation of the reality, and there are many, many, many challenges. One of the digital twins we are going to develop is that Destination Earth. It's an European project where we are going to modellate the Earth at a distance of 1 kilometer. It's incredible. We have system now with 10 kilometers, so we can see almost anything, and we can predict almost anything about the future climate change. But probably the most challenges, digital twin is the digital twin for the human body. Okay, how we build a virtual representation of any of our bodies in order to predict, to cure, to know much more about the wife. And this is a very big challenge. For doing that, we think that the only solution is to do interdisciplinary research. We had people from 30 careers, and mainly multicultural research. Let me tell you that 33% of our 1,000 people are from 53 countries. We have 3 from Morocco. I would like to increase this number. We have a number. So, I mean, let's go, Rector, President, to really collaborate in a fraternal way, as I understood here, in the future, to make a better future for the next generation. This is our target, to help to the society to solve the real problem they have. This is the target for any research we should do in the world. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, valuable partners, and wishing a lot of success in this upcoming partnership. Honorable attendees, the morning session comes to an end. I would like to invite you to the afternoon session that will start at 2 p.m. under the thematic Empowering a New Generation of Advanced Thinkers. We'll be honored to have 3 Nobel Prizes as key speaker for this session. Professor Richard Roberts, Nobel Prize laureate in medicine in United Kingdom in 1993. Dr. Widad Bouchamaoui, Nobel Peace Prize laureate from Tunisia in 2015. And Mr. Carlos Umania, Nobel Peace Prize laureate from Costa Rica in 2017. Looking forward to having you this afternoon, and enjoy your lunch break. Thank you.